Okay. Hi, you guys. Hi, JK Pioneer. Hi, NFJ. Um, I figured it's been a hot minute and I slowly have been kind of getting sucked back into a few things about the chase. And if you think I'm not going to get a little excited and inspired when Christy herself drops the whole reliquary thing, you gotta be crazy. I mean, I've been saying reliquary for years. I'm literally the girl who cried reliquary. So everyone knows, you know, people in the chase community, they have their vices. They have their things that like the solves that categorizes them, right? Like Bill has Moses, Alan and Ben have DB Cooper, you know, the Knickers have 9 Mile Hole type thing. It's always like you say one specific topic and it's instantly categorized to that one YouTuber or chase personality, right? Mine, I know I have a multitude of them, but if any of them are ever going to be categorized by me, it's going to be reliquary chest. So I I cannot wait to see if there's any new updates or anything that's going to be happening in regards to that. You know, the whole secret compartment, I've been talking about that for years. And now there's possibility, there's a method to my madness. And I mean, if you guys have been watching and paying attention for a while, I think there's, quite frankly, 90% of the time, there's a method to my madness. Um, but yeah, I wanted to jump on. I know sometimes we're all bored. It's Saturday and we just want to see what are we up to? What's been going on in our lives? Are there any chase updates? Obviously, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, are there chase updates? Yes and no. It kind of feels like we're stuck in purgatory and we just, remembered Forrest and celebrated his belated birthday. And now what comes next, unfortunately, is going to be the anniversary is passing. That's right around the corner. And every time a monumental date comes around the corner, I think we all think the same thing. Is this finally going to be the date where something happens? What are we waiting for? How long are we waiting for? Is there an expiration date? Like, what's going on? And I mean, go back to a couple of years ago, 2021. It was pretty much a year after the find. We weren't really getting much from the quote unquote finder, nothing like that. And I'm over here telling you guys auction website, auction website, auction website. And everyone's like, Candy has lost her ever loving mind. She needs therapy. She's gone off the deep end. And I look into it, Ben looks into it, Packer Jack looks into it. Like people are starting to look into it. And I was the first to say Justin Posey, Justin Posey, Justin Posey connects Justin Posey. Then we get Entity Gate, and I'm like, Justin Posey. And everyone's again, Candy, you're mad, you need therapy. And I'm like, you guys, Justin Posey. And we get nothing. And then, oh, lo and behold, Entity Gate, Justin Posey. And then the next thing we have is LLC. What did I say? Justin Posey. And then finally, freaking how many years later down the road, it's revealed Justin Posey. So now, again, like I've been saying, Justin Posey, reliquary chest, Justin Posey, reliquary chest. But I want to bring something up, and I actually started to connect the dots the other day when I was talking to Christy on the phone. I was calling her, talking to her, like I was driving home from work and I was talking to her about like some details that weren't adding up to me, right? And we're talking about, why now? Why this specific time? And why go from like you're pretty much like going 0 to 100 with this whole, oh my gosh, tell the community this is what's happening to my friend has a jar and he found it in relation to a pirate ship and he hasn't opened it because it's nice to have mystery in your life. I don't think that's it at all. Okay, so I've always been the searcher in the community that's categorized as the controversial searcher, right? I have no filter. I love talking conspiracies. Nothing nothing makes me happier than talking conspiracies and things that are so outlandish. You say, what the heck? The articles, Netflix, Posey, what do they all have in common? Well, if you remember that article that was written about Posey, that Netflix is making sure is the basis of the storyline, it talks about Posey and how he was an avid searcher for the Force Fen treasure, right? But what else does that article say? Don't care about his solution. Don't care about Sunlight Basin. Don't care about how many numbers of boots on the ground he has tracked over the years. Don't care about any of that. Don't even care that he is the now owner of the chest. Care about the reason why he got into the chase in the first place. Do you guys remember why? In the article, he states that he has been obsessed with the Victoria Peak treasure for like the longest time. And I know a few in the chase community has dabbled in that. I know Kiwi, a few people have, discussed Victoria Peak treasure. And Amy Gwen also talks about it. And see, that's the thing that I never really pay much attention to, is because it's like when you're going down a rabbit hole and certain patterns are connecting, you have to stay in that connected pattern. You can't skip ahead and then be like, okay, I understand what you're saying. You need to gradually and organically be able to come to that realization, right? Well, it finally started to dawn on me a little bit, because I'm going to be the one, like, I never hold things back from you guys. And this is my theory, right? So when I went down research rabbit holes about the seven cities of gold, and before anyone says it's a fable or it's fabricated or it's crazy to even consider someone going and looking for that, stop and think about this. It's already been done. For hundreds of years, archaeologists, historians, benefactors, millionaires, so many like people that have they're not crazy. They come from good standing, they come from good universities, they have PhDs. They're some of the most brilliant minds. They all have gone looking for the fabled seven cities of gold, also known as Aztlan, right? Well, in some of the research that I have collected over the years pertaining to Aztlan, Victoria Peak has fallen under that category as a possibility for Aztlan, right? Now, if I'm going to sit here and continuously tell you, I think the real chase is to disclose the real story, the real secret that Forrest Fenn is associated with, it would all have to link together, right? It's not just about writing a poem, hiding a box of gold in the mountains, and then daring someone to go find it. It's not about that. I think it was a trial run. Okay. I've been saying this for years, and I'm going to stand by this again. It was a trial run. He was looking for people that wouldn't be affected by such a grandeur type of treasure hunt, right? So if Victoria Peak could have links in association to the seven cities of gold, and Justin Posey has always been obsessed with Victoria Peak, and he had to own the treasure chest no matter what. And somehow, allegedly, the family allowed or only allowed him to be the buyer for that. That's interesting, because I already know everything there is to know about that treasure chest motif, Cozumel, the backstory, everything it links to. It's the seven cities of gold, okay? And again, before you say Candy's gone off the deep end, remember Douglas Preston met Forrest Fenn in 1988, I believe he said, at the Pink Adobe or something like that. It was because Michael Kremner, who was a huge benefactor and also looking for the seven cities of gold, by the way, you could Google that yourself. He introduced them to each other. Now, remember, Douglas Preston wrote a book specifically detailing his path he took to look for the seven cities of gold. It's the book written about how he retraced Coronado's footsteps to try and find the seven cities of gold. Forrest Fenn was in possession of one of the most rare items you could ever have. The only other item in comparison is the one in the Louvre in Paris. Okay? He had Esteban's journal. Esteban was the cartographer for Coronado. Esteban is one of the people that actually tells you the story of Cibola, the seven cities of gold. Okay? Think about this. Forrest has the journal of the cartographer who created the maps and the point A to point B directions of Coronado, who went looking for the seven cities of gold. Douglas Preston wrote a book about looking for the seven cities of gold. He met with Forrest because of Michael Kremner, who was also looking for the seven cities of gold. That's three people right there, all in association with looking for the seven cities of gold. Then you've got Justin Posey, who is obsessed with Victoria Peak, that has links to the seven cities of gold. That's your fourth piece right there. Then you have the chest motif itself. And I'm telling you again, it's associated with the seven cities of gold. Then you have Cozumel, Mexico. Cozumel, Mexico is a part of the story of the seven cities of gold. Forrest reached out to Rick Havaschke and requested that treasure chest motif specifically because it's ties to Cozumel. Okay, again, the treasure chest is tied to Cozumel. Rick Havaschke was the leading expert, or is the leading expert in Cozumel, Mexico. Skippy died in Cozumel, Mexico. Okay, all of these are linked. This is what you use to understand the bigger picture, right? What does all of this have in common with each other? Secrets, okay? When we were shown the original real Rumblings and Ramblings before it was taken off, allegedly in those ramblings and writings, and I didn't read all of it or anything like that. I said I wouldn't, but I was shown one piece, and it's the one piece that I think is the most important. Allegedly, it states that Skippy was murdered in Cozumel. He didn't drown, he was murdered. Allegedly. Okay? So bear with me, stay with me on this. All pertaining to the seven cities of gold. Now, my research that I've been doing for years, and it's not just based on an assumption or a theory, I have actual historical documents and evidence to back up each one of these theories that I state, okay? The book, The Codex, written by Douglas Preston, who again is literally a link to Forrest Fenn, because Forrest Fenn went to him and states, and I quote, he wanted to tell Preston his life story so that he could write his memoir. The memoir that we are under the impression of the thrill of the chase, right? But then that doesn't make sense because Dale recently came out and told us that he was originally supposed to write Fenn's biography, which aka would be a memoir, right? And then after X amount of years meeting with him and doing interviews with him, he's no longer a part of it. So who does that go to? The grandson, Shiloh, right? Shiloh might allegedly be trying to follow up and write his granddad's biography. So Forrest goes to Preston and tells him his life story. And instead of Preston writing the biography or the memoir form, right, Preston writes the book, The Codex. Now, many people in the Chase community have read the Codex. They've gone down rabbit holes and all these different things. But my interpretation is different in comparison, because you need to, again, remember and apply the fact that Forrest went to Preston and told him his life story. And in doing so, Preston wrote the Codex. And he tells you, oh, it's based off of elements that Forrest told me, and it created a fantasy thriller. But then you come across another interview with Forrest talking about what he told Preston. And he says, we agreed to change the location and the names of the places in the book. So he's telling you his life story, but to keep information protected, they agreed to change certain details in the book, The Codex, right? Now, the thing about patterns is you start to pick up certain details, and the more detailed something is, the more likely it's going to be factual, okay? So the whole plot of the book, The Codex, is obviously about an eccentric millionaire. He has a family, and all of a sudden one day he goes missing, and he dares his family to go figure out where he is in order to prove that they're worthy of inheriting the inheritance, right? And all the kids that he has, they're like spoiled, they don't care, they want things handed to them. This is all in the book. And there's one kid in particular, one son in particular, that's like, I want nothing to do with this. I don't need money to be happy. And what makes them inspired to go looking for it still? A woman, a researcher named Sally Colorado, comes to the son and says, you're not aware of this, but your father discovered a Mayan codex and tried to have it translated at a university. And at the time, they could not translate this codex because they did not understand or know how to read Mayan hieroglyphs. Okay? That right there, in that chapter, in that book, is beyond detailed. Okay? Because it is beyond detailed, that means there's a 90% likely chance it's real. So I started doing some digging. Why would they be so focused on this Mayan codex? And why would they discuss the whole plot being the government is trying to find this codex that your father discovered and has in its possession somewhere? I need your help because this codex can help with medicinal properties in the medicinal world, things like that. They agree they're going to work together because they have to find the father in order to get the codex. That's literally why the book is titled The Codex, right? Think about this. Forrest went to Douglas Preston, told him his life story, and Preston wrote the book, The Codex. The Codex is literally the catalyst of the bigger picture, okay? So years ago, I started digging. I'm like, okay, let's just see if there's a method to this madness. Is there a codex that once existed in this world that would have been submitted to some type of university? Because that detail is just far too detailed not to be real. And there is. So for people who don't know, there's not that many codexes that exist in this world. The conquistadors, they destroyed all of that because it was against their religion, and the Mayan and stuff, they didn't appreciate or support it. It was against their religion. So they destroyed all of these Mayan codexes. So there's only 4 in existence in the world right now, okay? Only 4 in existence. There's one called the Parismancy, and I can't remember the names of all of them, but the one you need to know is called the Grolier Codex. And I was like, okay, wow, that's fascinating. The Grolier Codex exists. It's real in this world, okay? It's not fabrication. It's not a fantasy. It's real. Go on Google, look it up for yourself. The Grolier Codex was discovered not too far off in Cozumel, Mexico. Around the same timeline, Skippy, the whole Skippy situation, okay? I wanted to know more about this codex because I'm like, okay, this is interesting. We've got Cozumel, we've got this Mayan codex. What else is there? Well, this Mayan codex, the Grolier Codex, was discovered in some magical, far off, undiscovered drive cave, somewhere in Cozumel area, okay, by two grave diggers. They specifically state in the articles of the discovery of this codex, two grave diggers, nobody knows their identities, nothing like that, discovered this Mayan codex. They sold it to a private benefactor who used an alias to purchase this codex. If you try to look up the alias of this person, you're going to go crazy because they do not exist. That's what money can buy. They could buy different secret identities of people that don't exist to cover up their real identity. And you're thinking, Candy, you sound absolutely crazy. Well, guess what? CIA does it all the time. That's the whole point. So the benefactor buys the codex from these two grave diggers and decides to take it to the Grolier Museum in New York City. Okay. Well, the Mexican government finds out that this happens and just freaks out and says, hey, that's our property, not yours. Give it back. So what happens? Before the Mexican government can lay claim to the codex, the Grolier Codex, pages go missing. Did you know in Douglas Preston's The Codex book, the Mayan codex that they're looking for has pages missing? Interesting. And did you know the other three real life codexes that were discovered in this world, not one of them has missing pages, and not one of them is associated with Cozumel aside from the Grolier Codex? Okay, interesting, right? So you have an anonymous benefactor who purchases this Mayan codex from two grave diggers who also have anonymous identities in Cozumel, Mexico. During the same timeline, Skippy is killed. Fascinating. Okay. So the Grolier Codex. What is so important about the Grolier Codex? Did you know Michael Coe, who ran, I believe it was either Harvard or Brown University, talks about how he was approached by someone about the Grolier Codex, asking them to translate this codex. And at the time, Michael Coe couldn't do it because they did not know how to read Mayan hieroglyphics. Okay. 100% fact. Google it. You can read about it online. There's no way I'm making it up. It's fact. Okay. So eventually they figure out how to read Mayan hieroglyphs. And now all of a sudden, the Grolier Codex can be unlocked. And do you know what happened the moment Michael Coe was able to read the Mayan hieroglyphs on this codex? They discovered in Mexico a temple called the Temple of the Moon Goddess. Okay? The Temple of the Moon Goddess The moon goddess, specifically, I can't pronounce it right now. It's been a while since I looked at it. It's like Ichila something, but she is a goddess and a deity. And in Mayan culture, especially pertaining to the seven cities of gold, she is the guardian of the seven cities of gold, Aztlan. Okay. They find her temple. It's one of the biggest discoveries. Look it up. They do this by using the Grolier Codex. So you have the Grolier Codex, it's decoded. The university and the professor and a whole team and benefactors use that codex to discover the Temple of the Moon Goddess. Did you know the Temple of the Moon Goddess was used to disclose a hidden door in the Temple of Palenque? Palenque is associated with one of the biggest Mayan gods/kings, Pakal. Look that up. There's so much historical, factual evidence of all of this. I'm not making any of this up. This is 100% fact. So the Temple of the Moon Goddess showed these researchers that there's a hidden door in the Temple of Palenque, the Palace of Palenque. And it was the tomb that led to King Pakal's sarcophagus. But when they found the hidden door, it led them to something that is called the Temple of Inscriptions. Again, 100% fact. Temple of Inscriptions. Did you know the Temple of Inscriptions, it basically is like a family Bible where it talks about family, lineage, bloodlines, kings, things like that, and secrets. In this temple, it tells you the story of the seven cities of gold, Aztlan, okay, which is known as the seven caves of the seven tribes of the Aztecs. Temple of Inscriptions. Did you know written on the wall for the Temple of Inscriptions was the original name of what you would now know to be called San Lazarus Pueblo in New Mexico? Google it, look it up. So the Mayan Codex, the Grolier Codex, that was discovered by two gravediggers and purchased by an anonymous benefactor, and the pages are missing, but were used to translate to find a hidden tomb called the Temple of the Moon Goddess, who is the guardian of the seven cities of gold, led to the secret door in the Palace of Palenque, pertaining to the Mayan god King Pakal, that led you to a Temple of Inscriptions, which is the secret family room that tells you the story of Aztlan, that tells you San Lazarus Pueblo is associated with all of this. Now think about this. You got San Lazarus Pueblo, right? That Forrest bought in 1988. You got Douglas Preston, who went looking for the seven cities of gold. You got Michael Kremner, who was a benefactor, who was looking for the seven cities of gold. You got Forrest, who literally owns the Cartographer's Journal of Coronado, who went looking for the seven cities of gold. You got the book, The Codex, written by Douglas Preston, based off of Forrest Fenn's damn life story, allegedly, that's about the seven cities of gold and the damn Mayan Codex. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, on top of all that, Justin Posey, who's been associated and obsessed with Victoria Peak since day one, and Victoria Peak is associated with the legend of the seven cities of gold. You've got the treasure chest that Forrest Fenn shelled out $25,000 for that wasn't even real. It was a replica of a replica, and is associated and tied to Cozumel, Mexico, which is also associated with the seven cities of gold. All of this is associated with the seven cities of gold. I'm not making any of this up. This is 100% fact, okay? I can say that because I've got literal links, evidence, research, documents, articles, interviews that prove I am not lying. This is 100% fact. Look up Michael Coe. He was at Brown University. Look up Victoria Peak. It's associated with other things. Look up Michael Kremner. He was the benefactor. Look up the freaking Grolier Codex. Groiler. Grolier Codex. Read Preston's book, The Codex. There is literally every single detail and mysterious, unexplainable events that keep occurring in the chase all have one thing in common. They're all associated with the 7 cities of gold. And again, it is not crazy or far off to talk about anybody looking for the 7 cities of gold, because it's been happening for hundreds of years. Did you know the actual person that they used to create the fantasy character known as Indiana Jones was the man who discovered the Palace of Palenque? Google that too. He's literally the man they used to create the character Indiana Jones. And what does Indiana Jones go and do? He looks for treasure. And you want to get even more crazy about this? The conquistadors, there's just so many wars, all the wars that have happened over millennia was all about the 7 cities of gold. Did you know that? The Crusades, the Freemasons, the freaking Templars, all are associated again with the 7 cities of gold. It is a secret that has been guarded and passed down for millennia, okay? And it is not crazy for anybody, especially a millionaire or a historian, an archaeologist, a writer, anybody, to go looking for the fabled 7 cities of gold, because there has been evidence over the years, the centuries, that proves its existence. So if I were to say, what is Fenn's secret and what is his story, I would tell you he went looking for the 7 cities of gold because of the discovery of the Grolier Codex, and it literally led him exactly right straight to that missing city. Okay. And the chase itself is looking for someone who isn't going to be affected by something of that stature. He specifically said in one of his interviews about his money, his anything after he dies, is it going to go to the family? And he said, no, I paid for their education. I got them cars. They're not getting any of the money because I have seen what money does to people. Go look that article and that interview up. It's the one where he talks about Clark Gable. I remember when I first saw that interview, it never left me. I was like, wow, this is mind-blowing. He's not leaving any money to his family, not because he doesn't love his family. He loves his family. He specifically stated, I have seen what money can do to people. It changes them. So no, I'm not going to leave that money to my family. Then where would it go? Where is all that money? Where's the secret? He was looking for someone who could not be changed, not be bought, wasn't trying to blackmail him, wasn't trying to threaten him. And look at this, you guys. For 10 years, he had to go through hell, through all these characters and people in the chase community, losing their ever-loving minds over just what, $1 million? If that, a little box of gold in the Rockies, estimated at like at most $1 million. people did the unspeakable to obtain, or at least try to obtain that, what do you think people would do for the fabled 7 cities of gold? What do you think would happen with a discovery of that magnitude? Think about it. I truly believe, and I will die on this hill, the chase, the real chase, the real secret, the reason why he spent 15 years of his life writing a poem is because it's pertaining to one of the biggest discoveries in our history. And there's a method to what I say, because every single thing that I shared with you is 100% fact. Now take those facts and apply it to Douglas Preston's The Codex, the very book that was created after Forrest Fenn went to Preston and told him his life story. Okay? There's a whole group of people all associated for looking for the 7 cities of gold, and they're all in the chase. Okay? Every single one of them. Okay, I'm gonna read chat really fast. Hold on. Hey, King. Waiting for my pizza, King. I think Justin's in for a Geraldo moment. Wait, why is MS getting... What? Why is MS putting... Why is MS getting, like, put into... Hold on. I hope she's not. Okay. Larry, what'd you do to MS? Okay, many other sites have been discovered by people looking for the 7 cities gold. Yeah, exactly, JK Pioneer. Can you link Kennedy was to meet Nos? I don't know about that yet. I haven't gotten to that part yet. Must go deliver a pie. Sorry, I missed another mod timed you out. Yeah, what's happening? Anyone want to see me go live sometime? Update? Yeah, of course, Davio. We always love to see you go live. I love chocolate. Yep, everyone loves chocolate. Hey, Alpine. She's pretty smart for being such a bitch. I mean, I am a bitch, but get over it. Treat me nice and I'm nice to you. The fires burned for a month. Okay, 2 people, cool. The codex are priceless. Exactly. Was Skippy vaccinated? What? Okay, whatever. Some old Spaniards kept some hidden away who were friends with local Aloni Constantinoloni. What? Olmec City in the Sky. Oh yeah, I've heard about that. So Force knew the 1% to search of San Lazaro from all of his information. As a good friend once said, hunches and bunches. Anyways, I agree with everything, Candy, but why would Force Fen wait to reveal it after his death? That's the thing, INFJ. That's the thing. Is it ever going to be revealed? I don't think it's going to be revealed until that person proves that they're worthy of knowing this. You can't be bought. You can't be swayed. You can't be blackmailed. You can't threaten. Like, I think that for 10 years, Forrest was using the chase to find someone that would not be affected by such a secret of such magnitude, right? I think there's a real game, and it couldn't even start until his passing. And I also think with this chest, it might be possible that there is an expiration clause. Now, think about this. What if the chase that we are all familiar with and know and love was the beginning of the real game? And whoever was smart enough to figure out this level had a certain amount of years to try and figure out this puzzle before it had to be shared with the world. Right? So what if for 3, almost 4 years, the true finders have been working on this and they've been trying to crack the real chase. And now time's running out. What if now they're realizing, can't do it on my own. Maybe I do need help with this. And there's a clause stating that the real game has to be played by everyone. Everyone gets a fair chance. But you had X amount of years to do this before. That to me personally sounds exactly what Force Fen would do. Okay. Think about this. You discover a secret so profound that it can alter history. What do you do with it? Do you sell it? No. Do you share it? Yes. But who's worthy of that knowledge? Just like Indiana Jones. Remember the Grail, everything like that? Who was worthy? Who was worthy? You had to go and you found the Templar, the Guardian, the Fisher King, and he tells you what ails you. And he has you sip from a cup. You have to figure out which cup it was. If you chose poorly, you died. But if you chose correctly, there you go. And what happened? The people who were trying to cheat, that were murderers, bad people, and forced good people to try and give them the answer, they still failed the test because they didn't understand, in order to prove your worthiness, you have to walk that path alone yourself. So what did the bad guy do? They grabbed the most ostentatious goblet, saying, oh, this is the Grail, and sipped from it and died because it wasn't the Grail. The most homely, meek looking goblet was the solution because they understood the quest, the journey. Okay. That's what the whole point was, the quest, the journey. So that's the same concept. Create a treasure hunt worth about $1 million, sit back and watch how people react. Like, we're dealing with people that were so desperate to believe that their whole life could change with just a measly $1 million, where they put themselves in harm's way. And unfortunately, people died because of it, all for a box of gold. Do you not see what this world is capable of in gold fever? With gold fever, okay? Murders, so many things have been, terrible things have been acted upon when people are desperate in this world. What do you think someone would do with an opportunity of that magnitude? Okay. So you have to prove your worthiness, just like the quest. And it's not by cheating. It's not by being a bully. It's not by trying to cut corners. It's not by blackmail. It's by walking the path and understanding what you're really supposed to do. Proving that you are not a horrible human being that can be bought or altered or changed. Because it's meant to be used for good, not for evil. Think about it, you guys. Think about it. Why would someone say this is the most profound thing I've ever done in my life? And he's just talking about going into the mountains and hiding a box of gold worth maybe $1 million. That's not profound. Look up the word profound. It has religious ties to it. That is what the proper context of the word profound means and is used for. It is life-changing. And money is not life-changing. Knowledge is life-changing. And I wish you guys were in my brain and you could see everything that I see and you can know everything that I've obtained over these years. Because the chest itself, the chest motif itself is the actual puzzle. How do you think I could sit here and tell you all that I've been telling you? It's because I was one of the very few, if not only one, in this entire chase community that took the time to try to understand the chest itself instead of everything else. Everyone else is looking at the poem. Everyone else is going after the $1 million. I was the one that said, hey, I want to know why he chose this specific chest, the reliquary chest. And it unlocks one of the most profound riddles of history. I'm talking, it goes back to the 12th century. It is the reason why there was the Crusades. It goes to the bloodline of Eleanor of Aquitaine, who was married to King Henry II. William of Aquitaine was the very first troubadour in history. For people who don't know, that chest and its motif was first documented by a man, a historian, a very well-renowned and known historian named Roger Sherman Loomis. And his entire family did the exact same thing that he did. They dedicated their lives to studying the mythology in association to the Grail. And I get it. Every time someone says Holy Grail, Grail, Celestial Grail, people think you've absolutely lost your mind. You've gone bonkers. But let me say this again. Why is it crazy? There is actual evidence for hundreds of years. There's been wars because of this. Kings have gone looking for the Grail in history. Okay? So why is it so crazy to talk about the Grail? It shouldn't be crazy. It's not crazy. Okay? The Crusades. Now, okay, Roger Sherman Loomis wrote a book and he had an in color illustration of Forrest Fenn's chess motif. And he talks about the origin, the actual timeline. It's from the 14th century. Okay. And it's about secrets. And it was actually associated with King Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine. Okay. Now, when he talks about it, he talks about the allegorical siege, right? King Charlemagne, who was the one who murdered Dogbert II. Dogbert II allegedly was of the bloodline of Jesus Christ. Okay. And you got the whole bloodline, the Holy Grail, that thing, right? He murdered Dogbert II, and he was the one who enacted the allegorical siege. Allegories, okay? Motifs, different types of vices and virtues in plays enacting mankind's soul through purgatory, heaven, hell. That's what the allegorical siege was. And he had his army go around and rip apart churches, cathedrals, reliquaries, everything, looking for holy relics. Okay? A reliquary and a relic. A relic is something that's associated with a saint or a holy person, right? And it will hold an item in association with that holy person. A prime example would be Mary Magdalene and the veil of Mary Magdalene, or blood chips or a nail from the one true cross where Jesus Christ was crucified, or a bone fragment from a pope. That is what a relic is. It has holy significance, and every single time it has to be guarded, coveted, hidden. And reliquary chests were specifically created to not only hold the bones of that saint, but also to hide secrets. Now, King Charlemagne was going throughout having his men take every holy relic and reliquary that they could get their hands on because he was looking for something. Okay. Now, when you research that treasure chest of Forest Fens, you're going to know about its twin in the Detroit Museum. And that one is titled Attack on the Castle of Love. It's literally carved into the underbelly of the lid, the wooden lid. And they discovered it one day when they found out you can remove the wood paneling, right? Now remember, it is almost identical to Forest Fen's chest. Both are reliquaries that hide hidden compartments. This one revealed Attack on the Castle of Love. That is from the Court of Love, okay? Different types of allegories during certain types of wars. This goes again back to King Charlemagne, okay? You have the allegorical siege, you have courtly love. Courtly love, when you Google it, is an association with troubadours, and then later on, they're called minnesingers. But regardless, the troubadours or the minnesingers were the ones that would sing about love. But what people don't know, and of course you wouldn't know because you wouldn't know this existed in the first place unless you found it, the troubadours and the minnesingers were guardians of this secret pertaining to the 7 cities of gold. And the way that they kept this protected is that they moved it every time something happened. Every time there was a war between good and evil, this secret was moved. But what happens when you move the secret? You have to continuously make sure that secret is passed on, so it is never lost to history. Okay? The troubadours and the minnesingers were the puzzle makers of this movement, of this riddle, that again goes back to the 12th century. And one of the most famous, profound, and renowned puzzles is called Parzival. Parzival was written by a troubadour and a knight, okay, in the 12th century. And this is around the same time alchemy is banned because of the church. Alchemy is bad. You are a heretic and will be burned at the stake. And this is also the time of the Templars. You are not allowed to practice or talk about alchemy. It is forbidden. So what happens? How do you get this information across without pissing off the church and being branded a heretic and burned at the stake? You take the information and you have it applied to the church so that the church cannot go against the church. So they wrote a story about the quest for the Holy Grail. And it's a journey on one's path to healing, to understand what life's really about. And it talks about the bloodline of Jesus Christ. But did you know in the story, the Grail is actually a symbolic representation and is known as an emerald. Alchemy. The Emerald Tablet was pretty much what the recipe card was for alchemists. Okay. It's showing you right there. It's talking about alchemy. Alchemy goes back to the Mayans, the Aztecs, the stories about Pakal, the sun, the moon, things like that. Astrology, astronomy, all of that is pertaining to alchemy. Okay. So you've got a 12th century riddle. They write a story about Parzival on his quest to find the Grail. And in order to find the Grail, you must seek out the Fisher King, who is the guardian of the Grail Castle. There's so many different interpretations and variations, but the only one that truly matters is Parzival, written by Wolfram von Echtenbach, who not only was a troubadour, meaning the guardian of the secret, he was also a knight. And he tells you the story of the true Templars, the Templar Cian, which translates to mean become brotherhood. And the Templar Cian have a crest. That crest is a dove in a crescent moon. Not making that up either, okay? And the reason why the Templar Cian decided to use that as their crest is because the story that you are told from the story of Parzival. I've said this for many years, over and over and over again, like a broken record. I tell you the story every single time about Parzival, the Fisher King, Wolfram von Echtenbach, Roger Sherman Loomis, all of this. I've said it for years, not once ever changing my story, not ever once changing the connections and the patterns that I share with you. So this isn't me fabricating anything. This is me trying to find a way to share with you the massive amounts of research and documents and stories and interviews that I have found that all connect. And I'm telling you, the secret that has been guarded forever is the 7 cities of gold. And I'm telling you, Forest Fenn's Chase is just another puzzle of that. So why does Justin Posey own that treasure chest? It's because just like many others in this world, and you don't know they even exist because money can buy anything, they are looking for the 7 cities of gold. When Forrest said, I hope some Indiana Jones type out there goes looking for my treasure, there's a reason why he said that. So much. So much. So if you believe in the whimsical, if you believe in knowledge and secrets and passing on those secrets for the future, to benefit the future, to use it as a tool for good, then yeah, I would say listen to what I'm saying and play the game. I don't even know what else I could tell you other than maybe creating a video that shows you everything I'm telling you. Okay, there is literally every single event and person associated with what's happening right now are all linked to the 7 Cities of Gold. Read Douglas Preston's book called Cities of Gold. He went looking for Coronado's footsteps to find Cities of Gold. I'm not making this up. Literally, Preston has done so many interviews talking about Esteban. Google Esteban. Not making it up. Google Wolfram von Echtenbach. Not making it up. Google Roger Sherman Loomis, who literally spent his entire life using mythology to trace Grail lore, not making it up. Google everything I said. King Charlemagne, he literally created the cults of the saints and the cults of the relics, not making it up. Google reliquary chests, not making it up. Google Atslan, not making it up. Google Cozumel, not making it up. All of it happened. It's there. I'm not crazy. If you want to do one thing and one thing only, do yourself a favor, Google the Grolier Codex. Not making it up. Once you Google the Grolier Codex, read Douglas Preston's The Codex. Not making it up. So I guess the next thing to do would maybe look a little bit more into Victoria Peak. I haven't even done that much research into it, but I do know Victoria Peak is associated with the stories of the Stone City's gold. But you're forgetting every single time something happens, they move it. They continuously move it. It's always moving. And every time it moves, a new puzzle begins. So what happens? Do you have to make a puzzle next? Is that what you're supposed to do? Is that why Forrest had to do it? Because this is what happens. The Templar Cian, the troubadours that write poetry. They use poetry and music and art and architecture to hide this information, but to also make sure it's passed down. Forrest used a poem. Was he a troubadour? Was he a Templar Cian? I think so. I find it fascinating that he has the dove and the crescent moon. That is the crest of the Templar Cian. And their motto is protecting. And guess what? Take a flashlight underneath the picture of Forrest Fenn's dove and the crescent moon, and the first letter or word that's going to pop up under that light is going to say protecting. Not making it up. And yes, Dan Brown is one of my favorite authors. I love his books. I love his writing. But did you know the lost symbol, the Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, all those books that he wrote are all based off of elements of other things that happened? Specifically, the Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code was created because of two brothers that started looking into Chateau Lyonnaise, midday blue apples. I wish I could share how far back, how much power through politics, through money, this goes. There's Poussin. Poussin literally created artwork that holds a secret that you were never supposed to be able to see unless you had every single art piece of his together all at once. But today you could literally copy and paste something if it's somewhere else and you could put it together. It was never meant to be like that back then. There were kings that were shared the secret. Da Vinci was one of the guardians of the secret. Da Vinci. It's so huge. I wish people understood what magnitude this goes, how far it goes. Read the Da Vinci Code or watch the Da Vinci Code. Then read the two brothers' books that wrote about all of this. Read about the priest that took over Chateau Lyonnaise and magically found a bunch of money and started doing things and hiding secrets in artwork. Do you know the reason why I went to Scotland last year? One of the reasons was specifically so I could go to Roslyn Chapel. Roslyn Chapel is the other puzzle piece to Chateau Lyonnaise. And I know, I get it. Every time I talk about this, I go like 125 miles an hour. And I'm trying to find a way to break it down as simplistic as humanly possible to make a little bit more sense of it. But I've been so deep down this rabbit hole and researching all of this for so long. It's hard not to start going on tangents and talking about everything that connects. But that's what it is. This goes all the way back to the 12th century. The 12th century. And now we're here. We're here. And there's the chase. And the game is meant to be played again. The game is meant to be played again. Are you going to play the game? And if you do, are you going to answer correctly? Are you going to understand the reason why you played the game in the first place? Or do you think it's just meant about greed and wealth and money and power? Because it's not. It's not. It's about knowledge. It's about using that knowledge to shape a better future. Don't ask me how I did it. It just started with the treasure chest. That's all. Back then, I literally just was poking around every square inch of the Rocky Mountains, and it was cool. So every time I'd go down a new rabbit hole, I find something else awesome, like the Freemasons and their, it's just so much. Uh, I guess something else I could say is that the reason why when you watch movies like Shazam, the second movie, Indiana Jones, National Treasure, all of these movies all have the same underlying element and storyline. Why is that? It's because all of it shares the bigger picture and it's real and it happened. And they like to create fantasy and put it in front of your face to make you think it's not real. You take elements of truth and then you hide it in fantasy. And that is how it never gets revealed. If you ever want to know the truth about something, the best place to find it is in mythology. This is why Roger Sherman Loomis spent his life dedicated to understanding the mythology of Grail lore. Because that is where the truth is. That is where you find the riddles. That is where you find the Templar Seeing. It is one of the coolest things you could ever possibly imagine. But it has to keep moving. It has to keep going. People continuously have to guard it, and someone always has to find it. And once you find it, then it's your turn to guard it. It's one of the coolest things ever, honestly. So when he said, I spent 15 years of my life crafting a poem, and this is the most profound thing I've ever done in my life. In my opinion, he was not talking about hiding a box of gold. He was talking about being able to pass on the secret. So take all of what I say with a grain of salt, obviously. I don't know how else I could break this down and share it to the point where it makes sense. Just know that when people are crazy, they'll say they're not crazy. But when people are saying, I know this sounds crazy, they're aware of how absolutely insane something sounds. But if they have evidence and documents and history itself to back it up, maybe you should take a step back and try and look at the bigger picture. Because there's a reason for that bigger picture. So I love that there's people out there that have the 9 Mile Hole. I love that there's people out there that have different interpretations and just different associations with their research and their discoveries. I think that's wonderful. But if you're going to categorize me as anything, categorize me as the girl that tried reliquary chest, because that is my solution. That is my solve. That is my rabbit hole. 7 Cities of Gold, that treasure chest motif, the Grolier Codex. It's all, it's just, and I don't need to call dibs on it, and I don't need credit for it. I just wish that people would take a second to just look into it, because there's no harm in looking into it. And if you want to play a game, that's the game. And I did this not for any reward at all. I don't want a reward. I just want knowledge. I want understanding. I want to understand how this puzzle was made, why it was made, and how you continue to pass it on. That was my reward. And I'm giving it to you guys, hoping it'll inspire you to dig a little deeper to see what else you can find. Because that's the great thing about perspective, a person's point of view. It doesn't matter if someone says that isn't right, you can't do this, I'm smarter than you, you're dumb. That's not it at all. Personally, I think the professionals, then the people that are historians and the people with PhDs, I think it's sad that they tell someone who doesn't have an education or doesn't have a PhD that they're wrong because they have a certificate that says, I know something more better than you. And it's not that. Nobody should be held higher than another person. We all interpret information differently. We all see the world through a different colored lens. And all it takes is one person to see something from a different perspective to unlock something else. And that is why I believe so many amazing things have been lost in time and history, because we think we're not worthy of trying to understand because we don't have a piece of paper that gives us a certificate or a PhD or anything like that. I think that's what Forrest was actually trying to tell us too, in Jumpstarting the Learning Curve and Important Literature. He continuously tells you these writers that had such a following and they were literally allowed to be writers because of their profession and their education. He tells you, you don't need an education to change something, to matter in this world. He goes on to tell you, would you rather have someone who went to mechanic school and just started work on cars to work on your car? Or would you rather have someone who never went to mechanic school but spent 7 years of his life working on cars? You're going to take the latter because that person has experience. He doesn't need a piece of paper to say, I know how to fix a car. He learned it for 7 years through trial and error. So don't ever let anyone tell you you are not capable of something, because every single one of us are capable of something. It just is all based on perspective and mindset. So if you don't have an education, okay. You know what everyone is so obsessed with is society. Society labels you and tells you if you're worthy or not based on how much money you make by slaving away and working till you die. Does that make you who you are? The clothes you wear, the house you are fucking living in? No, that doesn't define who you are as a person. Your trials and tribulations and how you overcome some of the darkest times in your life and still continue to be a good person is what makes you worthy of being who you are. A society does not get to tell you and label you and tell you if you're worth anything. And then the sad thing is that we allow it to get to us when all we need to do is understand that we are worthy and we're meant to use what we are meant to be the catalyst to build a better future for others. And I believe that is what Forrest was telling us in his chapter, My War for Me. He was telling you, doesn't matter how you see me, it only matters how I see me. And how I see me is only going to be worthy if I find a way to better myself and better others by passing their view. That's all you really need to understand. It's not about being smart. It's not about being rich. It's not about being popular. It's not about any of that. It's about doing positive, good things with your life while you're still here so that it creates a butterfly effect and continues to inspire others to do the same. Why else do you think Forrest spent 10 years plus of his life interacting with so many people in his chase and doing so many amazing positive things for them? It's because, just like he told you, he wanted to find a way to inspire others to do great things because of him. And that's what he did. And he continues to still do. So the chase, in my opinion, has many levels and many reasons. But regardless, it's still a game. But you need to remember, nothing is ever worth putting yourself in a bad situation where you can get hurt or die or cause someone else to get hurt. It's not about cheating your way to answers. It's not about forcing someone to give you answers. You are already lost if you think that is how it's played. You cannot threaten, you cannot blackmail, you cannot bully, you cannot do anything like that. What you do is you just continue to live your life and be the best version of yourself. And as you follow that path, it will continuously show you exactly what you need to be shown. I'm just trying to say, it was just so heartbreaking after he passed to see what people were capable of. It's just so sad to see this world itself on fire because of society and because of labels and because of what we think we're worthy of. It's not about the ego at all. So play the game, but play it right, or else you already lost. Okay? That is why history is the way it is. That's honestly what I could say about that. Let me see what else the chat says. Let's see. Just showing support because glad to see you, but got to go to bed, Andy. Oh, hey, Mario. Sorry. Hi, Lorraine. Let's see. That's a weird conversation. Alrighty. We'll catch up tomorrow. Hit thumbs up, y'all. Oh, thanks, Mario. Hi, everyone in the room. Welcome to society. I will do my part to change this. Yeah. So that's that, you guys. I just wanted to jump on and tell you all that fun stuff. Make of it what you will. I think I'm gonna jump off now, though. It's a good time to cut it off. Continue inspiring, continue doing great things, play the chase the way it's meant to be played. And may the best heart win. Later.